Hello, Lego Minecraft Bros here with the first update to our Lego Infinity War setup. This setup has 4 different dioramas, the first being New York City, then there's Wakanda, then Titan, and Nidavellir mixed with Knowhere / the collector's base area, collecting place. So first, we'll start out in New York City. We'll give you a quick overview of what's in here. The first building is this giant custom Avengers Tower mock. It's pretty interesting there. So on the outside you can see the Avengers symbol, really cool architecture that we put in there, lots of blue windows. And if we come onto the interior side, you can see on the top floor it's Tony's lab. So we have Jarvis right there, his crystal form from Avengers Age of Ultron. We have Loki's scepter there in the back with the Mind Stone. We have a few hologram displays. And then a glass floor, which leads down to this floor, which has one of the Iron Legion drones. And we have a Quinjet here, which we'll get to in a minute. And then down on this floor, we have the bar from Avengers Age of Ultron with a nice little chair with many building techniques used. And then on this floor, we have Pepper's office. So she has one table with some paper and a TV. And then her giant desk with some missile plans, a laptop, coffee mug, chair, all the good stuff. And then on the final floor, we have a check-in desk, some waiting chairs, and a potted plant. Now, if we go up to the base, or the hangar of the Avengers Tower, we can see we have a Pepper Potts custom minifigure there, Happy Hogan, and then the Avengers Quinjet, which is custom built to fit onto this platform. Pretty cool right there. Cool design. The wings fold up and it almost fits inside. It gets out of the way a bit. Perfect. So now if we come down to the base level, you can see some interesting details here. Over here there's a park, where here we have half of a taxi cab that was cut in half during the New York battle. And we also have Cull Obsidian's hand that was chopped off by Wong opening the portals. And there's a path from the sidewalk that leads to this one building, which has the bank and then 3 other floors. If we come back around, we can see what's on each of these floors. So on the base floor, we custom built the bank from the Spider-Man Homecoming set to fit with this area. So we have some ATMs, the robbers dressed up in their Avengers get-up things. It's pretty cool. On the second level, we have the Captain America Museum from the Winter Soldier. So we have Cap and Bucky on one side, and then 2 other of Cap's team from World War II. Then on the next floor, we have Louise's apartment with Scott Lang in there, and there's a mini wasp in the bathtub, just like what happened to Ant-Man in his first movie. Just a laptop there and some warning tapes. And then on the final floor, this is more like a catch-all storage closet with some of Tony Stark's stuff. We have Infinity Stones in there, a toolbox, a missile, a bunch of vibranium, an extra Black Panther suit holding a lightsaber, Thanos' sword that came in one of the sets but was not true to the movie, the letter that Cap sent to Tony at the end of Civil War, and some spare parts and weapons from Tony's nanobot bleeding edge armor suit. And on the top floor, we get an aerial view of that. We can see that it's one of the Wakanda troop transports from Infinity War. And that Wakanda theme kind of continues over here with one of the jets with Nakia in it. It's just hanging on the rooftop. And then if we get down to the base level of New York, we can see a bunch of little details. So here we have Maria Hill, who is unfortunately, spoilers for Infinity War, turning brown because she's getting erased by Thanos' snap. And over here we have Nick Fury, who's holding his communicating device that he uses to call Captain Marvel. Right here we got another guy who's turning brown. He's getting dusted by Thanos' snap. We got some mailboxes, street lamps that have been bent by Ebony Maw's magic. And speaking of Ebony Maw, he's right over here, ready to face off against Wong coming out of a portal. And Iron Man, who is up here, propped up with a transparent tube coming out of the building with all of his bleeding edge armor and attachments that come with it. Now if we go over here, we have one of the Q ships that Ebony Maw and Cull Obsidian came down on. We can see the beam that they came down on right there. And this is the one that Spider-Man tried to climb up on his homecoming suit, so we have a version of him right there. And then in the background, there are also some minor and major details on the building. So right here, it's Peter Parker's apartment. Some nice detail in there. On the inside, it's just the basic stuff is what was in the set, nothing too special. On the floor, we have a pizzeria. And on the top, we have an older version of Captain America holding a time stone, who's facing off against none other than the Soul Stone Keeper, Red Skull. He's holding a Soul Stone there. That's a cool little detail. Right here, we have the Sanctum Sanctorum. Pretty cool detailing on there. It's just from the sets. And then this final building over here, it's also another kind of catch-all building, which on the bottom floor, it has some Pimtech stuff. On the middle floor, it's Stark Industries. You can maybe see a little arc reactor in the window there. And on the top floor, it's Captain America's apartment from the first Avengers. So he has his punching bag and stuff in there. So now we're done with New York. We can move over to the Wakanda diorama, and we can see even signs of Wakanda in the New York with one of the Outrider dropships here, the second one being here. So all of the Outriders are coming out of their dropships. We can see that they're fighting a bunch of the Dora Milaje and the Border Tribe right there with Vitruvius's cape. It almost perfectly matches what they're like in the movie. Our favorite combination that we did is Bucky and Rocket, as in the movie Bucky picks up Rocket and they twirl around and shoot a bunch of Outriders. And right behind Rocket, we can see a little rabbit, which is reference to how Thor calls Rocket Rabbit throughout the movie. Back here, we have one of the Threshers that came from the dropships that are about
Corvus
to
Glaive.
run... Pardon?
Corvus
Yes, Corvus Glaive's Threshers, who are about to run over Proxima Midnight, like in the movie. And here we have a recreation of that battle between the three women superheroes. So we have Okoye here, Black Widow, and Scarlet Witch on the ground, and a nice little crater there. Right here we have the hut that Bucky Barnes / White Wolf lived in his time in Wakanda. And then above him we have Falcon going over shooting this Outrider general. He's a cool custom minifigure that we built. If we move right beside Falcon, we can see that there's this cool waterfall. And the battle that took place near the waterfall was between Cull Obsidian and the Hulkbuster. So there's an Outrider on the Hulkbuster showing how he got overrun. And then Cull Obsidian, we replaced one of his hands with a metal hand because his other hand got chopped off in the Battle of New York. So continuity, and that one's back over in New York, in fact, in the park. If we make our way over a bit more, there's a tree, and then we have the battle between Corvus Glaive, Captain America, with his cool new shields, and Vision, who's on the ground. Captain America's coming to the rescue. And we also threw Groot in there with his little video game console. Now, if we go up, back up onto the hill, we can see we have Shuri over here, using her Panther gauntlets to blast away. And then we have Thor up here on one of the turrets. We added a cape, and we kind of redid Stormbreaker to look more realistic based on the movie. We added the circular base of the hammer, which is like what it had in the actual movie. And then inside of this Wakanda wall, we can see that we have 2 spare Black Panther suits, because this is Shuri's lab. And then if we go over top, we can see inside there is a version of Human Vision right there with the Mind Stone. Now, although they didn't get the Mind Stone out in the movie, we thought that it was a cool little Easter egg. Now, we'll move over to the Titan diorama. We can see that there is just generally a lot of orange and dark red, maroon pieces that are used throughout, which really captures the environment of Titan. Lots of destroyed pieces of buildings that were very Titan-esque from the movie. And the characters we have in here are, of course, Thanos with the completed Infinity Gauntlet. Holding down Thanos is Spider-Man with 2 switched out arms, because the Iron Spider arms aren't just gold, they have a bunch of silver in them as well. That's pretty cool. Then here we have Doctor Strange, who's flying, and he's creating platforms for Star-Lord to jump on, which is seen right there. And also one of the portals that Star-Lord jumps through. And basically also everyone jumps through when they're fighting Thanos. Now, if we go up here onto the building, we turned the other Iron Man suit that came into the sets, with the one that was breaking when Thanos was shooting him with the power blast. So he has his knife here that he tries to stab Thanos with, but then Thanos ends up stabbing him. And one of his energy blasts coming out of his other hand. Put that back there. And then here we have Drax, which is a custom minifigure with the best pieces we could find. And some big knives, like what he had in the movie. And then the final minifigure, or second final, is Nebula here, which we used with the microfig sets, or the Mighty Micros battle things, and she has her energy sword things, kind of similar to Black Widow, but not exactly. And then our final minifigure, probably the least accurate, is Mantis. She has the correct face, but we had to custom do everything else. She doesn't have the antenna, but it's as close as we could get it for now. So now we'll move to the final area diorama thing, which is Nidavellir and the Collector's Museum. So the main thing in this area is the Benatar, the Guardian ship from this movie. So we can see we have Gamora up here, because she technically wasn't in the Titan battle, but we still wanted to include her. And then there's also, if you look closely, a Nova Corps officer. Here, I can take this ship off, actually. There's a Nova Corps officer inside that ship. Just a reference to the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now we get a better look at the Collector's Place at Nidavellir. Nidavellir is pretty bare. It just has Thor's Space Forge in there, some fiery things, and a bunch of like poles and chains, which is very similar to the movie. And then in the Collector's Place, we have just a bunch of things on display. So we have Howard the Duck up here, holding a wine glass. We have the Blue Man, which was seen in Infinity War, which is a reference to Tobias from Arrested Development. We have Stan Lee in his security guard thing, which is like what he was dressed up in Captain America, the Winter Soldier. He's right there. We have another couple cool creatures along this wall. We have one of Thanos' hands. Don't know how he got that, but it's pretty cool. We have Cosmo the Space Dog here, which is basically just a dog who has a helmet on. Pretty cool. And then just a bunch of other things that the Collector had. So some helmets. These are Annulax batteries, or as Drax calls them, Hardulary batteries. We have a bunch of vibranium right there, some action figures that he collected, and then finally the little table with the Power Stone from the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And then over here we have the spinal fluid from the Celestial Head. That is really what Knowhere was based around. So it's the mining stuff that they used to mine that, just a bunch of translucent yellow pieces in there. So that does it for all of the different dioramas in this kind of area and Infinity War diorama. Put a lot of effort into it, and we'd love to hear some suggestions for improvements, and if you guys want to see more updates for this world. Thanks for watching.